Hi, welcome you all for the exception handling in Java programming. An exception is an abnormal event which is occurring during the execution of the program that interrupts the normal flow of the program's execution. Exceptions are generated whenever recognize the error condition during the execution of that specific method. Exception can be generated by Java virtual machine or by using a manual written code segment. Exception handling is the process of ability of a program to intercept the runtime errors which are occurred during the runtime. For that, we have to do some corrective measures to continue the execution of that given program to maintain the normal flow of that given application. An exception occurs at various situations given below. First one is attempting to access a file which is not exist in that location. For example, if I want to access the file from the Java folder, inside that I'm having smp.txt. Okay, if that file is not existing inside this folder, then it will give the exception. And also inserting an element into the array at a position which is not in its bounds. That means we may declare that array with index value 10. So the size of the array is here 10. But if I want to assign the value a of 11 equal to 10, then you see the 11th index is not available in this defined or declared array. So which is out of bound. 11th location is out of the 10th out of the defined 10 memory locations. So it will create the exception. Then when you perform some mathematical operation that is not permitted, for example, here you may apply the operation division by 0, right? So here if you do this value division by 0, then it will create some exception. It is not allowed. Then another one exception is declaring an array using the negative values. That means declaring an array with negative size, negative number. So it is also not permitted. So this will create some exception. And a resource allocation error. That means alerting the particular method or particular variables, particular memory space to the specific purpose. So there, if it is not available, then there is the possibility of resource allocation error. And printers, okay, scanners, so there also we will get some error. And problems in network connectivity. So when you are trying to perform client server based programming, if the connectivity is not existing, then exception will be raised. Here exception can be defined by using some hierarchical structure. The object is the primary class. Under that we are having the throwable class, so which is having two different hierarchy. One is the exceptions and another one is errors. Exceptions means we can handle during the compile time or runtime of the Java programming. Check exceptions which will be done during the compilation time, right? So compilation time, in the sense we will use the java c command to execute the file name .java. So this will give you the exceptions whenever if any exceptions are raised during this moment. Okay, so those exceptions are having some types: io exception, sql exception, and class not found exception. Likewise, the exceptions which are not checked during the compilation time is called unchecked exception. That is, it will be generated during the runtime of that Java program. Java, then file name dot class. Okay, so when you are running the class file, this kind of exceptions will be raised. So those exceptions are arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, index out of bounds exception, which is having two more categories: array index out of bound exception, string index out of bounds exception. So this can be these exceptions can be handled during the compilation time or runtime, right? And another one is there is the errors. which cannot be handled by the programmer. Stack overflow error, virtual machine error, out of memory error. These are all like system based errors which cannot be handled during the program's execution. So here that same category of hierarchy given in the form of checked exception and unchecked exception, right? The red color box indicating the checked exceptions, right? So here these are the exceptions which can be checked during the compilation time, and these are all runtime exceptions. This will be called unchecked exception, and error also cannot be solved during the compilation time, so these are also coming under the unchecked exception. So here we are having thread death, virtual machine error, input output error, and here virtual machine is having two more categories: out of memory error and stack overflow error. So just it is showing which are all runtime exceptions and which are all compilation time exceptions. And here based upon that definition is given here: compile time error in the sense Java compiler will identify the syntax error during the compilation time. Compiler does not create class file without successful compilation. That means during the compilation of that Java program, right? So here file name dot Java, right? So here when you are compiling this file using this command, if it is not successfully compiled, then file name dot class will not create. So then we cannot get the successful completion. So when it will this kind of errors will be occurred: missing curly braces, missing semicolon, missing double quotes in the string when we are using the assignment operator instead of a relational operator. So this kind of things will generate the compilation errors, all right? And there is runtime exceptions. Program may compile successfully, that means class file is generated successfully after compilation of this file name by using the java c command. Then here the error will be generated during the runtime. That means when you are running the file, okay, so like this, then at that time you will get the errors. So this type of errors are called runtime exceptions. So these are all examples: divide by zero, converting the invalid string into number, accessing the element which is out of bound of an array, then passing the parameters with invalid range. So these are all some of the exceptions occurred during the runtime of the program. Here checked exception in the sense, here the information will be notified by the compiler during the compilation time. That means when you are compiling the java file, right, during this execution of this command, you will get the notification. So that those kind of exceptions are called checked exceptions. These exceptions cannot simply be ignored. We have to handle these exceptions, right? Otherwise you cannot get the class file, you cannot generate class file, right? So for example, user writes file reader class in the program to read the data from your file. If that file is not existing in that specific location, then file not found exception will occur, and the compiler prompts the programmer to handle this exception. That means compiler will generate the notification to the user to handle this exception. For example, I am importing the file class to use this file not found exception, and the file reader class, the class name is file underscore demo. Inside the main method I am giving the file location which is available inside the d drive. Okay, then I am using the object reference variable to read this file. So if it is available in that location, then it successfully it will create the class file. If it is not available, you see, you will get the error here, unreported exception during the compilation time. Java c file name is file underscore demo dot java, right? So which is generating the exception during the compilation time. File not found exception must be caught or declared to be thrown, right? So we have to handle this error before compilation time. This is called checked exception. And another one is unchecked exception. This is need not to be checked during the compilation time. It will be create it will create the class file successfully. Then during the runtime, when you are executing the class file name, right? So using the command java, then you will get the notification from the from the java environment. This exception occurs at the time of execution, called runtime exception, just such as logical error, that means divide by zero, this kind of exceptions. Runtime exceptions are ignored during the compilation time. That's what I told you. During the compilation time, file will be successfully executed. It will not be handled during the compilation time. So that means it is ignoring during the compilation time. So here it will be notified during the runtime. That's why it is called unchecked exception or runtime exceptions. For example, if user is declaring array size is 3 but trying to call fourth element of the array, then at that time you will get the exception array index out of bounds exception. So here you see unchecked demo is the class name, then main method. Here I am using only three values, that means array size is here 3. Then here I am trying to access the fourth element, fourth index of the array num. So here you will get the error. You see successfully it is compiled. Java C command created the java class file successfully. After that, when you are running the file, right, it is creating the exception. So it is called unchecked exception or runtime exception. You see java dot language dot array index of bound exception, index 4 is out of bounds for the length of the array is here 3. So this is the way to find the runtime exception, and it should be handled by you introducing the exception handling methods. Okay, so here we will see the exception handling methods in forthcoming videos. Thanks for watching.